This is the BGG Climbers for the week ending 6/16/2021. This list is put together every week by Michael Alexander on BGG. I'll include links in the description if you want to look at the Geeklist. Let's get into it, and let's start with the fallers this week. So the fallers are usually games that have peaked and are kind of in the decline. One of those is Race for the Galaxy. So this game, I don't even think there's been an expansion for this in a while. And it's dropped pretty steadily over the last few weeks from 60 to 64. It's probably going to keep declining. I don't think that... I think it's a good game. I actually prefer the digital version just because you can play it so fast. And I'm still not very good at it, even with that. But I think it's a great game, and I think it's just getting a little old. Fields of Arl. So this one, again, probably peaked and just falling down the list. Star Wars Imperial Assaults. There hasn't been any expansions for this. I think they're focusing on Descent now. So I think there's a new version of Descent coming out, so this one's probably going to continue to fall. Seventh Continent has probably roughly peaked around where 36 or thereabouts, and is probably on the way down. And Twilight Struggle. So this one, I think formerly was the number one game. Now it's down to number 11. It's probably going to keep declining from there. Imperial Struggle never really caught on, and it's a pretty old game at this point. So let's take a look at the stuff below the top 10. One we've been watching is Micro Macro Crime City. I do think this thing has a good shot of hitting the top 100. Its rating has been falling a little bit, but I think its uniqueness and its appeal is going to keep it going and probably get in there. We have Madara. So this one, I think as long as enough people purchased it, it looks like the ratings are going to be sufficient to push in the top 100. Maybe even, I think top 50 is going to be pushing it just because I don't know if there's going to be enough copies of it out there today, and probably over time it will fall a little bit. There is a large following for the dungeon crawler genre. This is one of the, I think, fewer only JRPG-inspired dungeon crawlers, and with the new printing and all the people getting the game, there's no doubt, or that's the reason why it's climbing. And we have Sleeping Gods. This one is going to end up in the top 100. I think probably in the top 25 and possibly in the top 10. Its rating is definitely sufficient for top 10. It just depends on the number of copies. Now, I'm interested in this game. I can't find any copies out there, so I assume another printing's coming, and we'll see then. And number 10, Catapult Kingdom. So this is interesting. This, I think, was a Kickstarter. Maybe it's a Kickstarter that's happening right now. Let's check this out. So Catapult Kingdoms. Oh no, Catapult Feud. That's not it. Yeah, Kickstarter. I don't think it's currently on Kickstarter, but it is cool looking. Oh yeah, this one. I remember this on Kickstarter. This thing is a cool looking game. I think it brings back like castles and catapults or something from the 80s or 90s. I remember wanting that game when I was young, and so there's no doubt that it's not a very complex game. You're pretty much getting just some catapults, some walls, and some guys to knock over, but that doesn't mean it isn't fun. I mean, at BGG Con, I think we played like a full-size version that's kind of like this, which was really cool. So this is Catapult Kingdoms. I don't see this going in the top 100, but we'll see. Anything's possible, I guess. Number 9 is Agropolis. So we've looked at this one. It's a Sprawlopolis standalone game. I don't see this going in the top 100. I don't think there's going to be enough interest in it in terms of sales, and it's already kind of starting out a little bit low on its rating side. So that's number 9, Agropolis. Number 8 is Oath. So this is getting about the reception I expected, which is something a little bit less than Root. I think the unique nature of it, though, is going to entice a lot of people to try it out. And I think that the graphics design, the Root graphics design was amazing, without a doubt, and this takes the same graphics design and puts in a different style game. One thing with it is I think it is possible we'll hit the top 100, but it is a very expensive game. I think at retail it's $120. The Kickstarter was in the same range, I think, and that may keep it out of the top 100 for quite a while. It does have a strong enough rating. It's been pretty steady through the first 1,000. So I do think if it doesn't hit the top 100, it'll probably be because it's not sold enough copies, and I do think it'll land in like the top 200 or 250. So this is Oath, Chronicles of Empire and Exile. Number 8. Number 7 is Witcher Old World. So this is going to be controversial. This was a Kickstarter that just finished. As you can see, a divided set of ratings because there's probably a lot of people rating it at 0 and a lot of people rating it at 10. And there's really no basis for either one because I don't even think there's rules for this game available. I know there are some example playthroughs. I didn't see a rule book published, at least that I know of. And most of the ratings are probably based on whether you like The Witcher or not. Now, I haven't played Witcher 1 and 2. Witcher 3 was an amazing role-playing game. If they, bring that to life in the game in some way, I think it could be great. I'm not expecting maybe the best adventure game, and it's a weird adventure game because it's a competitive adventure game. But I do like the Witcher IP. I like the storytelling in it, and maybe they're gonna bring some of that elements into this game and make it feel like The Witcher, and I'll be happy with it if that's the case. It's not hugely complex, not hugely light, which is good for a game that's targeted at a Witcher audience. Since the game doesn't exist, I can't tell you whether it's going to be good or not. I do think the miniatures look pretty cool. I don't know if they're really necessary for the game. I think they offered a non-miniature version for people that didn't want the minis, and I think a fair amount of people took them up on that. Although, usually if you're going to go with the Kickstarter, you're going to want the minis, and it is kind of amusing. There is the horse in the barn, like what happens in the video game. So I do think they're doing a good job kind of staying true to the whole video game and making a interesting board game that obviously did very well in Kickstarter. So this is The Witcher Old World. We'll probably see this again in about a year and a half when it's finally delivered. Number 6 is Meadow. So this game is doing pretty well. It's come down a little bit on ratings. I do think it'll probably keep falling. I think the initial ratings were maybe a little bit high for it. I think it looks okay. I just don't think it. I just haven't seen enough positive reviews on it and enough hype to maybe keep this train going. So I do think it's probably going to land. I don't even know if this will hit the top 200. Probably it'll land in the top 500 when everything's said and done. So that's Meadow. Number 5 is Commandable Sand. So I haven't played this version yet. Obviously, it's going to do well. I think very likely this will be a top 100 game, just like Comet was. And it's just a better version of Comet. It has, I think, some of the stuff from one of the expansions in it. It has, better pieces, better artwork, and some minor rules adaptations to prevent ninjing the end and stuff like that. So I think overall, Commandable Sand is just a better version of Comet. And I'm actually going to be playing it hopefully fairly soon. So I'll be able to give my opinion on it. So that is number 5, Commandable Sand. Number 4 is Great Western Trail. So this is very interesting. So this is essentially a top 10 board game. Now it actually is top 10. And I don't know if it was ever. I think it was in the top 10, then kind of bumped out, and then now is back in there. It's gotten a few more ratings since last time. That must have been really good. High ratings, or it was just enough to bump its average up a little bit. Now, what's interesting is this is the second edition that came out. They're going to come out with 2 other ones. I think it's the Great Western Trail Argentina and Great Western Trail New Zealand, which I'm interested to see what Alexander Pfister does with those games and how he takes the stuff he's learned from Maracaibo and brings them back into his Great Western Trail game, because I think Great Western Trail is a good game. Maybe, probably even a great game. But I do think there are some problems with it. I don't think the expansion kind of solved all the building problems, and how those strategies, I think, tend to be easier to win with than a cattle strategy or the conductor strategy. I don't think it really solved those problems. But if he's able to redesign the game from ground up with the same mechanisms, I'm really interested to see what he does with this. So, obviously, this thing is probably peaked The second edition, I think, is coming out, so maybe it'll get to number 9 or something, but we're probably not going to see much movement here, just downward from here on out. Great Western Trail. Number 3 is Dune Imperium. So this game is skyrocketing up the list. There's just, actually, there are a surprisingly high number of ratings for a game that was just released. Dune, from an IP standpoint, is very popular. There's going to be the movie coming out this fall, which will probably propel it even higher. The worker placement deck building game is innovative. There's a lot of good things going for this. I do think this will land in the top 25, probably. And maybe let's see what Great Western Trail is. And I think getting in the top 10 is going to be pushing it. Probably great. Probably top 25 for this game. And I also think that I haven't played the game yet, but one of the complaints was the component quality. They have an upgrade pack now to make it like a deluxe version. I'm guessing that they didn't realize how well this game was going to do until they actually got it out there. To be fair, you don't really know until you put your board game out how well it'll do. I think there's been some board games in the past that they thought were going to be huge and just didn't pan out. And I guess they didn't want to make the mistake with this one. So that is Dune Imperium, number 3. Number 2 is Destinies. So this is interesting. This game is doing extremely well. I think the price point is pretty good for an adventure game. I think its MSRP is $50. I think that the app stuff may add to the game. I haven't played it, but may be better than Chronicles of Crime. It has all of the interest from Chronicles of Crime, and in an adventure, like a fantasy adventure game setting with, I think, pretty good artwork. Some pretty decent artwork. I don't know if it comes with all these minis in the retail version, because I think this was also kickstarted. And things kind of look pretty good with this. It comes with these cool boards, and you have your items. The QR codes are for the app enablement. And I'm interested to see. It's a kind of a lighter weight game, maybe something that I could play with my kids in a few years. And, I am interested in playing this. I will probably pick it up and play it, or play it with someone at some point in the future. So I think with how well it's doing, this thing is probably going to get in the top 100. It's already got 1,000 ratings. It's from Lucky Duck Games, who Chronicles of Crime, they were able to get enough copies out there, and I think this is riding a pretty solid review tangent. So that's number 2, Destinies, and we've actually seen this on this list for quite a while, which is also a good sign. And number 1, Imperium Classics. So I don't know too much about this one. I did see it on the list, like the hot list for a few weeks. So let's see what this is. Compete to become the dominant empire the world has ever seen. Oh, this is the latest David Zerchi, or Zerchi. Fortunately, not a Kickstarter. I like some Kickstarters, but like Chip 3 Games, I think their Kickstarters are amazing. I think I think Madara was good. I've liked some other Kickstarters. I occasionally back them. The Assassin's Creed Kickstarter, I got in on that one just because I liked Assassin's Creed. I didn't know if it was going to be a great game or not, but it is nice to see that there's still some big games coming out that are regular games. Now, one interesting thing is it's from Osprey Games, and it's a pretty heavy game. That's a card-driven civilization game, which is kind of maybe reminds you of Through the Ages, but it looks a little bit different. It looks more maybe confrontational. I don't know. Let's see what it says here. In-game bonuses, so maybe not. Tableau building, which you would expect from this. And it is interesting that it comes with different civilizations, and then there's Imperium Legends, which will give you even more civilizations. I think the artwork on this looks pretty good. I don't know who the artist is, but I am interested to see this game. And it looks like the price point, because it's from, I don't know why this is on here. Oh, I guess it's a joke with the chips. I'm interested to see how this one does, actually. And if you look, it's fairly low retail price. It is going to be pre-order $29.99 at Miniature Market. That's, if this is actually a heavyweight Civilization card game at this price point, that could be really good. So I'm interested to see this one. I'm gonna have to look more into it in the next couple weeks. So there you have it. That is the climbers list for this week. If you like this video, please like and please subscribe, and please take a look at our other videos. Thank you.